Hello, good morning, everybody. Nice to have you on my panel today. Robert THRON is an entrepreneur. He's an educationist with the IB board and a marvelous person to know. So I'm very happy. I think each of you would tell a few lines about yourself before we go into the discussion of educational boards and the NEP 2020. NEP 2020 has been, like a big dark cloud on all the managements of education. They are trying to understand it as they are having a huge, printout of NEP 2020. So all the principals are learning, analyzing what to do and how to implement it, because that is the pressure from the government. Every principal has to learn the different types of educational methodology that the educational system wants to change. So we also have BISWAS sir with us, who is the CEO and principal of Soumya Kashi Heritage and Cultural. I don't know the school name also. I think it's the same, sir. BISWAS sir?
It's an upcoming school,
Okay.
Soumya Heritage International School.
Okay. So, Robert, sir, over to you. How does IB board analyze and view? Because now the NEP is a combination of IB board and CBSE. CBSE is, we had semester system education, and throughout the year you have, small evaluation done, and at the end you're accumulating it. But in the IB, if you could just throw a light on how the assessment is done on IB board. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Over to you, Robert, sir.
Yeah, sure. So just to clarify, I'm not with the IB. I had the honor and had the, I don't know, great experience of working in IB schools, of being a coordinator and implementing the IB programs.
Yeah.
I actually was involved with all three at one point. That's the primary years program, the middle years program, and the diploma program. And also I trained people to implement those programs. But it's been a while now, and I have moved on, as many people do, to look deeper and to see how can you take something, the good things from IB and the good things from other programs, Harvard Project Zero, just as the IB do. Where do they get their stuff from? So I'm looking at other things, bringing it into something simple and fundamental that any school can do. So for example, in Uganda, there's a school, it's for orphans. There's very few in the, not very much in the way of resources. What can they do? And it comes out as the same thing. And what's really surprising sometimes when I'm speaking in India is why in India, with all the wisdom you have and all the wise resources, the resources of wisdom you have, are you stuck with this awful system? And some people say, oh, it's the British. But I say, well, but why haven't you changed it?
Yes.
Why are you still stuck and insisting on being stuck? The changes can come not from, well, it's good to have the ministry. It's a wonderful thing that the ministry has said, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But the change comes from within each of us.
Good.
And the change can come from within each of us. In the NEP, there's one sentence that I always stick on. And it says learning should be engaging, holistic, integrated, I got it wrong. No, holistic, integrated, engaging, and enjoyable. Well, if it's engaging, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. That's that out of the way. And you can be engaging for you as a person or engaging with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
There's two forms of engagement, and that's your happiness section done. That's it. If the children are engaged in meaningful, positive things on their own or with others, then you've got happy children, usually, okay? In a safe environment. The holistic part comes in developing ourselves And I completely agree with what the little part I heard from Mr. Biswas about what he was saying yesterday about developing the person. You know, it's knowing ourselves. And that's a huge thing. So knowing ourselves and others so that we can have something to, some sort of comparison, knowing ourselves and others, and then being able to take action with that knowledge, that understanding. So meaning making for ourselves, discovering, exploring.
Yeah.
So what the IB does is it moves us towards that. In the primary years, in the middle years, you have a curriculum framework, and this would be the biggest shift probably for Indian educators from the board systems, because instead of being told what to teach, you're suddenly given a framework of things that you must include in your teaching over the next 5 years, for example, for the middle years program. So the concept of change. The children must go into the system at the beginning. You must understand what ideas they have about the concept of change in these wonderful areas of understanding that we have. That's the subjects. By the end of those 5 years of the program, the middle years program, it's the teacher's duty to have developed the child's understanding of that concept of change within those areas of understanding which we call subjects. Yeah. And I just like to, sorry to go on, I just like to say something that I heard from yesterday, and that was the last session that you did. And that was about
talking about purpose of education.
Yes, and it was about you know, the grades and why are we chasing grades and what does that do? And I thought that was a really interesting question, and it just made me think it's like a society where the people are just chasing money, and we know what that is. And so that when you've got a school that's just chasing grades, it's very similar. So there's an analogy there, and of course the soul goes out of it. Now, can you have? You introduced me as an entrepreneur, and I don't actually make very much money like that. But if I think of myself as a social entrepreneur,
yeah,
that's what I'd like to be. You can have success and make money and do good things. You can. It is possible if we organize things well. You can. There are a few rich, good people. Yes, there are people who have done good and become well off, and or to have enough for themselves at least. And so it's the same with grades. You can have children engaging in what they have to learn and passing and going on to become doctors and lawyers and whatever you need in society. But what's happening is we're taking the shortcut. If I want money, I'm going to go and cheat somebody. I'm going to go and sell the forests. I'm going to go and do these things, and I'm going to get money now. And it's the cheap, blind, narrow-minded way of doing it. And it's the same with grades. I want you to get a good grade. I want my children in my school to get good grades. Therefore, I'm just going to teach them and push them and pressure them until they get good grades. I don't care about the children. I don't care that they don't have a childhood. I don't care that they are not engaged and happy. I don't care. And I get the parents to help me to do that. And I'll shame the parents into helping me to do that. I'm not saying that educators do it, but the system has become like that. And if it's like that in India, with all the wisdom you had from the Gurukul system and the old ways of thinking, then there's a resource you're not using, you know? And I'm not saying to bring those things back, but I'm saying have a look at those things. Think about them, because you have the heritage of this. So why aren't you using it? And sorry, just the last thing on the NEP, that sentence I said, I think is the most important one. Everything else is a slave to that. So whether you have 3 classes or 2 classes or 1 grade entry or exams or whatever, it has to fit. Does this help our children to have a holistic education? Does it help them to have Does it help us to integrate not the subject so much, but the learning development? Does it help us to engage our children in learning? Are they enjoying their time? So I didn't tell you about IB assessment, but I just wanted to get that across.
We would continue. No, it's fine.
Sorry.
It's so nice to hear you, Robert, with your wonderful experience and seeing Indian education. You're able to, get the gist of what Indians are rushing to. What I believe, and probably even Bishwas sir believes, it is the value, the morality, other than the subject learning itself. How you learn, how you educate yourself, that values, which we are talking of holistic education, lives with you throughout your life, whichever country you stay, whether you stay in India, whether you stay in Britain, whether you stay in any country. It is the values of education and the values to take up challenges, to learn something new, that remains within us. So I would also thank you very much, Robert sir. I will invite you again. Bishwas sir, please put in your thoughts on how do you think different boards of education helps in the holistic development of a child.
Yes, ma'am. As I was telling yesterday, ma'am, this different word is really relative. This is made by us, that division in the countries, in the geography, division of culture, community, religion, and similarly as educational boards are relative. It is apparent and it is man-made. It is not natural. So as soon as we divide, we just deviate from the very purpose of education. Because ultimate purpose of education is integration. It is all inclusive, it is all comprehensive. But still, for the benefit of the society, of country, which is having a big geographical size, or the tribes are different, culture is different, geological, geographical situations are different. So we need different boards, definitely. Like in India, we have different state boards. We are also following CBSE and ICSE, IGCSE, and IB is also very much now popular in India. So all the boards have their own advantages and disadvantages also. Everyone will have some good things. And as far as I have taught in CBSE, CBSE is trying to bring all the modern things, all the new concepts and innovative concepts from all over the world, and it's bringing it in our country, and we are using it. In ICSE, I like that in ICSE from class 6 onward, they divide the subjects like physics, chemistry, biology. So that thing is very unique, and the child gets a scope to study very deeply from 6 onward. In CBSE, this division comes from 11th onward, grade 11th onward. that thing. Though I haven't taught in IB board, but I have read about the IB, and I have many colleagues and leaders also, my seniors also, who are in IB teaching. So IB is very, very innovative, and actually IB is following the eternal laws of universe. We all know what is education, what is the truth. Truth is always eternal. Truth is beyond all the reference of time, place, and circumstances. So as soon as your school curriculum or board curriculum will follow the eternal laws of universe, the cosmic laws, the purpose of education is all achieved. So IB is following, it's very much innovative. The even when we talk purely about academic subjects like physics or chemistry or mathematics, so these whatever the problems are given in front of the student, whatever the questions are framed, these are very much related with life, the real problems of life. Currently, what are the problems we are facing? So what happens? The academic knowledge is also gained, At the same time, the practical skills are also gained. You know that how to apply that theorem, that law, the concept in the real life. Because ultimately the purpose of education is having some skills, employability, eligibility, qualification, knowledge, with the help of which you will serve the society, serve the planet. And that serving without any desire will give you self-realization, salvation, liberation, which is the ultimate purpose of education. So having the skills and eligibilities, knowledge, information, data, these are basically means to serve. And as soon as you serve, a great saint of India, Swami Shivananda, he used to tell that love, serve, meditate, and realize. So when you start serving the society or you start loving the society, then that love and serve becomes reciprocal, then it purifies you. Purifies means it makes you realize that you are not this physical body or mind or intellect. So you don't have to go through a cutthroat competition to procure money or to be indulged in sense enjoyment. This is not the purpose, because you are not body, you are not senses, and you are not a mind also, you are not intellect also. You are beyond all these things, pure consciousness. So as soon as serve, love, and then you meditate on the absolute truth, you then realize that, oh, all the information of the world is already in me, because I'm not separated from the universe. I am also pure consciousness, and the universe has also come from pure consciousness. And just like we study cosmology, we know that the universe has come from a uh, uh, there was a moment when everything was same. We call it theory of everything. We call it grand unified theory, where the fundamental forces were not separate. The, the material creation was not there. At that time, everything was same, pure energy, absolute energy, pure consciousness. As soon as we integrate ourselves with that cosmic consciousness, then we realize that actually the infinite information of the universe is already in our consciousness. We are seat of consciousness. So the external education and that serving just stimulate us, make us realize that yes, we are already knower. Aham Brahmasmi means I am the knower and I know everything. So external education is just a stimulation. So as soon as we realize that thing, we attain the ultimate purpose of education, ultimate purpose of life. Then our entire activities becomes harmonized with nature. Then everywhere in the universe, wherever we go, we just give, we just contribute, we just serve and love. And fortunately, if the great souls say that if 1% of the universe, 1% of total population also attains that stage of self-realization, there will not be any war or riot or problems in the planet, because that vibration, that magnetic field of 1% itself can solve every problem, because positivity has more power. So here all the things come integrated, come harmonized. We forget the differences. So every board should be proceeding towards that. And as far as ma'am NEP is concerned, I'm reading it again and again. I personally feel that ma'am NEP is not telling anything new beyond the laws of universe. It is just insisting that man, you human, you are deviating from the eternal truth, and that's why you are suffering. And that's why the purpose of education is missing. You please come back to eternal laws of the universe, eternal laws of cosmos, your fundamental duties, your innate potentials, your intrinsic characteristics, very natural characteristics. You cannot you cannot go beyond that in any way, because ultimately we are created out of cosmos. Cosmos is not created from me. I have created from that. So all my constituent body particles, molecules, everything belongs to some star or some galaxy or something like that. Each and every particle is from the nature. So I have to follow the nature. I have to be natural. Then we will spread humanity, integrity, spirituality everywhere. Then everyone will be rich, man. There is no competition. The universe is not poor. That some, if universe is giving 200 CR or 1000 billion to someone, then universe bank will be empty and it cannot give to someone else. Universe is infinite. Her resources are infinite. Everyone can be billionaire or millionaire. So as soon as we realize that yes, soul, you and I are same, there will not be any competition. There will not be any commotion in the society. Great harmony will be there, peace will be there, bliss will be there, and that is called policy.
Okay.
Policy means in Sanskrit, we say policy means niti. Niti in Sanskrit, nayati iti niti. That means a strategy, a procedure, a principle which leads me from ignorance to brightness, from a death to from mortality to immortality, from poorness to richness. That is called policy. And education means bringing out the innate potential out. And nation means, ma'am, the entire planet. Our Vedic culture says that Trilok means the heaven, that planet, and the space. Everything is my own nation. This America, India, Pakistan, Turkey, these differences we have created. Man has created, nature hasn't created. So for us, nation means the complete planet.
Oh, wow.
And even beyond that also. So national education policy, these three words will be one actually when we will understand that on pure consciousness. And that entire policy, national education policy, will help us to come to the natural purpose, natural laws. This thing. Right now it's missing. We are unnatural. We are not following the laws of nature, rules of nature, and that's why we suffer.
Yeah.
Purpose of education is to become blissful, peaceful. We will realize that I myself is a joy. I am pure joy. So suffering should be eliminated. That is also purpose of education. To be happy.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful hearing from me, as well as Biswas sir and Robert sir. I don't know how far, Robert sir, you would agree to the points that Biswas said or probably understood, because it's a little all about universe and universal teaching, and about he's got an in-depth knowledge of the cosmos and all that. I don't know how far you agree with his points.
Well, I didn't, with all due respect, I didn't hear anything I didn't know, if that's what you're worried about. But
Good.
however, I mean, as a physics teacher also, I think I want to set children off on the path to wisdom.
Wonderful.
And when they do that, they have to look, beginning to start with, they have to look at the rocks in the road.
True.
And yes, there is the possibility that what Mr. BISWAS is true.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't, it's a great goal and it's wonderful. But to focus, it's a bit, I don't know if you know that Bruce Lee quotation, was it the finger held to the moon? If you concentrate on the finger, you will miss the heavenly glory. Well, I'm taking that in the opposite. If you are only looking at the moon, you'll miss the finger and you'll get hit. Okay, so we need very practical things, because I do hear a lot from what Indian educators are really good at is saying this big picture thing and saying this wonderful goals. But How do you practically start children off? What does the teacher in the classroom do? And it's about, for the teacher to change, for the child to change, it's about habits. It's about being able to know your habits, be able to manage your habits, to change your habits, to get a self-discipline, not to be hard on yourself, but to manage yourself as soon as you can, to be aware of things, to question everything. So if Mr. Biswas went to a lesson, I would expect my students to be saying, what do you mean by this? Why is this? What if it wasn't that? What if it was this? What if it was this? And to question, test it out. And I would expect, of course, Mr. Biswas to have done that for himself already, to test his ideas out through questioning. So you boil down to the thing that you currently now believe. This is my model. This is my understanding of how things are and where we should go. This is what I feel sure about, and this is what I'm not too sure about. And to be able to say, I'm not sure if that's true, but this is how I feel it is, and to be constantly renewing your model of how things are, refining your model of how things are. And that's what's missing very much in religion, for example. Religious people get a sort of a view of something and they stick to it. And then you think, well, what's your life for if you're just sticking to this one concept, this one thing? And it never becomes refined. Your understanding of it never becomes refined. Of course, the truth may be out there, the truth may be fundamental, but our understanding of it is the thing that we need to develop. And that is the thing that gets refined, our understanding of that fundamental thing. So, yeah, I do understand. Yeah, absolutely. But I think we need to look at how do we help children to, it's nice to talk about that with children, but it's more how are we understanding who you are, how you develop these attributes. I call them attributes. So I've been to many different places in the world. I've asked teachers and parents what attributes, what characteristics. So Mr. Biswas referred to skills. I would say that the IB, for example, goes beyond skills. And what is beyond skills? It's dispositions. So if you look at their learner profile, there's 10 things. And in there's something about curiosity, and curiosity is more of a disposition than a skill. Inquiry is a skill, but curiosity is your disposition to, if something happens, you wonder why. You will start to ask questions naturally. And so it's sort of like a skill that has become naturalized in a way. It's what we have. It's our drive. It's our human nature. That's what was talked about. So it's going beyond skills. It's going towards dispositions, and that's what I found most wonderful about the IB, and that is what is missing from many of the traditional. When I say traditional, these the industrial style models of curriculum that we have all over the world, even in very progressive countries. And even when they've stuffed them full with new ideas and IT and AI and wonderful new things, if that's missing, if that development of the learner is missing, it's for nothing. It's just the same, just dressed up. It's edutainment, or it's distracting with technology. It's creating the same things again. So you need to. That's why you can do this under a tree in the village, getting your questions right. So in the old days, in the ancient times, when a good teacher would know their learners, wouldn't give them all the answers. There are some things, yes, go and learn this stuff, but would be able to ask the question that makes the child think, I wonder what the answer is, and then the penny drops. Then you've got that step to enlightenment, that next step. Yeah. So it's knowing your children well enough to be able to ask the right question at the right time. And that goes into Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and what I call the questions of proximal development. what question gets you to that next stage of your development. And that's what we need to have to allow teachers to find from within themselves. How do I question? And it's really difficult because they have come from this terrible system that we have. And so to get that out of them, to allow them to shine, allow them it to come forward. Every school I've been to, I've found people trapped in this system who think like this, but can't because they don't feel that it's supposed to, or the system is pushing against them, or, you know. So we have the potential in every school I've been to. I found these people in many different cultures trapped in this system, ready to go. So there's your 1% of people who can get things going. Yeah, we don't need them to be there. We need them to start to get them to get going, to allow them the creativity, to find themselves as teachers, to find themselves, to then help their children to find themselves. And also the relationship between teacher and child, that the teachers and children together are on this journey.
True.
And one can teach the other. And so the ego disappears. The ego of the teacher disappears. Yeah. The principal's students are the teachers in a way, but they have to work together. You're a principal, but you don't know everything. So you have all these experts in front of you, the teachers. So you work together like a team of engineers where one happens to be the leader, you know, the one who takes the responsibility. And so they need to work together like that. And therefore the ego disappears, because the ego will get in the way of this type of leadership. And so you're approaching more, I imagine, to what Mr. Biswas would like in terms of egoless travel, you know, traveling the path and making sure the ego is managed in its place, or it gradually diminishes like that. So it actually ties in very much, and I think we have a lot of agreement, Mr. Biswas. We have a lot of agreement. It's managing to get to that path.
Wonderful.
Because the path is exactly what you say.
Yeah.
The end point is exactly what they say. I'm worried that if you go outside India, or if you go outside Hinduism or Buddhism, then your language starts to worry some people. You start to talk about cosmic vibrations and things like that. I have a friend who's he's a meditational teacher, and he's Australian, and he's a wonderful man, and he's great. And when he starts to talk about the vibrations and synergy and things like that, I can see the people in the West who've heard all of this, and the hippie Americans coming, who've come to India, picked up all these ideas, taken them back, repackaged them in an American style, and sold them to the West. They start to, it's all that sort of mystic stuff again. All right. So we have to be a bit careful with our language, that we ground our language in nice, simple terms, so that those people who don't have that sort of belief system can still find their humanity within themselves, and they'll get to it in the end. They'll get to it.
Okay. So, I will have to wrap up as we're running
short
of time. Thank you very much with all my heart, and we'll call you again for such meetings. Beautiful, wonderful. And I hope the people who listen to our discussion today are enriched with a lot of concern and changes that they can bring together as a team of educators. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.